Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is All His Number. Um, this is an address to people who are listening in on my phone occasionally. Basically, yeah, you have rules that are guiding your behaviors, basically, from what I know, and that basically there's consequences towards listening in on this device, is what the gist of it is. And usually those come with negative, you know, usually with punishments. So anyway, long story short, the videos on YouTube are kept contained. Basically, they're kept contained. They either have anywhere from 7,000 views to around 100,000 at the most. Some of the videos that are basically restricted for some people to access, basically you cannot access them. And so, to the people hacking my phone, if you do decide to hack it, there is some punishment associated with that. Um, just a word of the wise, our goal is to basically to keep you within the cube, basically to keep you within, a six-sided, you know, six-sided cube, basically, four faces, six-sided cube, basically. And so we, I've had people in town who basically, let me just upload the window here before we continue. So I've had people in town who have threatened to basically put me in a drum. I've had people threaten to uh, throw me in a box, basically. And most of their threats are empty because they're in therapy, and usually their threats are quite empty, but they try to make it have a real psychological impact. And so basically, me and my people have the upper hand because everything you know of as reality is produced by us, basically, in some way, shape, or form. And I mean, almost every facet of this reality is made by people such as myself and others. Um, so anyway, our goal is to basically contain you in your either getting locked in your rooms, as in you're in prison in your rooms, or you're going to, be contained in some way, shape, or form. We'll contain your mind, basically. Um, and so basically, I saw a joke in the physics building at Oregon State University here, which is where I live near, and it read that there that it went a little something like this. I don't know if the joke's still there. I don't know if they pulled it or not, but it says that heaven had that God gave basically 604 kilobytes of memory to create reality with, and then the line at the end of the joke said, how on earth can you possibly do particle physics with that? Well, it's kind of meant to be like a bit of a joke and a bit of basically like a copy of the cube of heaven up above. It's a copy of the cube of heaven up above because its cube of heaven is 6'4", six faces, four sides basically of a cube, and it's also meant to basically showcase who owns this reality, which is not only God but also the devil too. The devil owns this world, and so contained within a cube, basically, within what you can think. So it's meant to be like not really like it's meant to be like a really inside joke that only a few people would actually get and understand, because 604 kilobytes of memory is deliberately put there to mean a cube, basically, and that's the hidden part of the joke. And so it actually is kind of a funny joke for those who get it. And it's also meant to mock God a bit, to say that's all the memory that was given, and that so that's kind of like the gist of that joke. And so our goal is to basically contain the people here a bit in many different ways, and I'll show you how this relates to Genesis 6:4. Is that this is basically part 2 of my Genesis 6:4 video, in which you have you have the cube reference there, and that's one thing I didn't touch on in the last video, is that it's kind of like a cube reference, and it's kind of like how the Nephilim basically have a basically are in charge of this cube, basically, is what it's also suggesting too. It's suggesting who's in charge of the cube that's on Earth, basically the box that we want people contained in, and what they can and cannot do, and what they can and cannot think. And so pretty much that's kind of like, you know, why it was placed in Gen 6.4 is to basically show this cube, basically, that the Nephilim have control over a bit, that me and basically, you know, basically me and, you know, people who have demons basically possess and control basically reality, basically. And so, and to show that this is also the case too, as well, if you take a look at, you know, Enoch 18, Enoch 18 tells you that the constellations up above are apparently demons entombed, demons imprisoned. They basically, to show that this is the case numerically, is that 8 times 8, because there's 88 constellations up above, 8 times 8 is 64, and 64 goes right back to Genesis 6.4, which is basically showing you what happened here, and it shows you, you know, that the Nephilim, you know, basically produced offspring here, and that you know, that kind of thing, and it shows you who's in charge here. It also shows you, like I said, who's in charge here. Basically, would be formerly the Nephilim, and then now basically people who have demonic hosts basically are in charge of this plane of existence for a time being. And so pretty much. It's basically, you know, we want what you can and cannot think. Let me see if the recorder's still going. Good, it's still going. Is that you know, no matter which way you go here, you have you know, things that you can and can't do. For example, like I said, the people on this phone who are hacking the phone, you have consequences towards looking at this stuff because you're technically not allowed to look at it, and that's part of containment. And like I said, there's very few views on these videos, on my videos, on my channel. Because very few people are able to look at it. And so that's one example of containment. The other example of containment is, like, you know, many obvious examples to some people, which are like, you know, you can either vote Democrat or Republican. We keep you in the cube there in the United States. Or you're like, you know, or let's say you're in a country that's, you know, another country on the other side of the world where East meets West. And you have, you know, the United Russia Party is the main Russian party, and it's kind of similar to it. It's a moderate party, basically. So we contain you politically, basically, and it's like, you know, I'm not going to get into the other specifics, but there's a lot more than just that. You know, you're contained politically in terms of voting and in terms of you know, government, basically. And so the other way in which we contain is, like, you know, things you can't, you know, items you can't think about, or you know, or thinking outside the box. Let's say we don't want people thinking outside the box. We instead contain people within a box of a paradigm that is of our creation and our choosing, and something that we have willed upon the world and forced upon the world. Because in terms of, no matter where you go, you encounter the same sort of ideas and knowledge almost in many different spots. You know, it's like you encounter also the same measurement system, the SI, Standard International Measuring System. You have that too. Even you have standardized systems. You have money to exchange goods and services with. You have, you know, you have the same system basically no matter where you go. You have neoliberal capitalism spread everywhere with the same banking model, basically. So basically, we want people, you know, so basically we want, you know, to have people contained within a certain sphere of what it is they can and cannot do, for lack of better words. So anyway, this is, you know, this has been a brief video here about. I'm trying to think if I had anything else to add to it. Would be, let's see here. Add to it. I'm trying to think of one last comment, basically. I think that's about it. I think that just about sums up. This is just a short video on basically Genesis 6.4 part 2. So, and stated here was basically in Genesis 6 was the, you know, the flood, after they talk about what happened with the great men of renown, with them coming on the daughters of men. You know, we have the you know, we have the Noah and the ark afterwards. So anyway, this has been this is it for the video. Thanks.